Hello, hello. Hey, Gary.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, I see a lot of new names today. I'm so excited. So let's get started. Welcome everybody to this is officially our second session of the student series of Arts and Human Rights. And my name is Jenny Giorgi. I am the Arts Program Manager at part of Speak Truth to Power team. And just a couple of quick things. If you could turn your cameras on, that would be so awesome, because part of this work is creating a space where everyone can share and be vulnerable and really connect with each other and to create a community. It's a little bit harder to do when your cameras are off. So if you feel comfortable showing your face, that would be awesome. I would love to see all of you. And I'm so happy that you are here to create change in your communities through art. So yay, arts activists. So to kick things off, I thought it would be great to do a couple of movement exercises, because so often when we're operating in the world, we're all up here and we're so linear, and we move, we stand up, we kind of move around. We rarely get to articulate through this stuff. We rarely get to kind of drop into our bodies. So before we do anything else, I thought it would be great to start off with some moving. So hopefully you're dressed comfortably. If you could find a space, kind of move your table or desk away, create a little bit of room. We're not going to be moving around a lot, but we will be kind of articulating through the spine. So if you could stand up, wherever you are, and just take one deep breath, really ground your feet. Take one deep breath with me. And really exhale. You can put sound on the breath. And we're gonna start just by stretching our necks a little bit. Just roll your head side to side, putting your chin all the way down. And just kind of warming up your neck. Remembering to breathe. We often forget to breathe. Maybe roll it 2 more times. And then when your chin is back to the center of your chest, bring your head back up. And then we're going to wake up our shoulders. So inhale and bring your shoulders up to your ears. Exhale and drop them. Really put some sound on the breath. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. It feels so good to use your lungs. We stop breathing. Deep breaths. We're kind of like existing with like a shallow kind of breath. So the next thing that I want to do is wake up our spine, to really move this spine and articulate it, because we really don't move this around on a daily basis. So I want you to start tucking your chin to your chest, and I want you to slowly roll down, really articulating through every single vertebrae until you're down as far as you can, but really try to articulate every single vertebrae in the spine, so you're stretching out your back on your way down. So go ahead and go all the way down, articulating through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. And when you get down there, hang out for a little bit. Shake your head yes. Shake your head no. Feel your whole spine stretching. Shake your head yes. Shake your head no. And then in order to come up, really plant your feet, bend your knees, and then come back up one vertebrae at a time, very, very slowly. So the very last part that should come up is your head. Your chin should be glued to your chest, and it should be the very last part of your body that comes up. Make sure your shoulders are back. Take one more deep breath. And now one more thing, since we've kind of grounded our energy and moved a little bit, I'm going to do something quickly to kind of wake ourselves up, which is just the simple shakedown, which I'm sure most of you, if you're in theater, already know what that is. We're going to start with the right hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left hand, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right foot, left foot. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Give your whole body a good shake. Awesome.
All right.
And when you're done, just ground yourself again in your seat. When you're ready, if you need a couple seconds to just kind of let out something else out. And then just come back and breathe for a second. Reground yourself in your chair. Doesn't it feel good to just be in your body? Just to move your body in a different way and kind of wake it up. And just be out of your head. I don't know who said it, but there's a quote that I love. That's a relaxed mind is a creative mind. And I don't know about you all, but I find that I am at my most creative space when the energy drops, tension is released, the anxiety goes, and you can just be in that open space, like a safe space that you create for yourself for creative thinking and writing and being. Awesome. Thank you all for trusting me with that. How do you feel? If you feel inclined to share, just throw out one word, turn your mic on, throw out one word about like how you're feeling right now.
Excited.
Awesome.
Awake.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Present.
I'm centered.
Tired.
Rejuvenated. Rejuvenated.
Rejuvenated, yes.
Energized.
Anyone else? All right. All right, well, now that we're a little bit warm and our community is forming and cameras are off, I can see your faces. Let's get into the work today. So welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome. This is the second of 4 sessions that we will have together. Our partners for this series is the Ally Theater Company based in Washington, D.C., and the Theater of the Oppressed, who are based up in New York City.
New York, the Big Apple.
Yes. So I'd like to start this session by introducing the Speak Truth to Power team, who are all on. So I'm going to turn it over to the team to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm the program director for Speak Truth to Power. It's so great to see everybody.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm the training manager for Speak Truth to Power. Good to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adnan Karim. I'm the Managing Director of Human Rights Ed at RFK Human Rights, and nice to see everyone rejuvenated today.
Yes.
Awesome. And then our incredible guest artists that we have today, we have Jeremiah Drake, who will be with us through all of the sessions, and he's the director of Theater of the Oppressed at Riverside. Yes. We have Ty Hallmark. For those of you who were here last week, you'll remember her. She's the founding and producing artistic director of Adelaide Costello Company in Washington, D.C. We have Doug Robinson, who's a playwright, teaching artist, all-around fun guy who will be helping lead the session today. And Lori Pitts, who is the founding director of Voices Unbarred, and she's also an Allied Company member who will also walking us through the session today. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to Ty to give a little bit of information on Doug and Lori today.
Hi, thanks, Jenny. Hi, everybody. If you're new to this session, welcome. And if you were here before, welcome back. Again, my name is Ty Hallmark. I am the founding and producing artistic director at Ally Theater Company. We're a small independent theater company based in Mount Rainier, Maryland. If you don't know where that is, it's right on the border of DC and Maryland. We are committed to confronting and acknowledging systemic oppression in America through theater. And it is my pleasure to that we get to participate in this program this summer. It's also my pleasure to introduce you to your lead teaching artist for the summer, Doug Robinson. Doug Robinson is a friend of our theater company. He is a director, he is a playwright. He is on his way to get his Master of Fine Arts in playwriting at Yale. And for Alley Theater Company, he has written a great script for us that I hope he will tell you about called Welcome to Sis's. It's the story of a local woman in our community who ran one of the only Black-owned businesses in the town adjacent to where we perform. And Doug's going to be with you for all 4 classes this summer, helping you as you create and research your human rights defender. So we're super excited to have Doug. And for today, for this session, we also have one of our artistic allies, and as Jenny said, the founder of a company called Voices Unbarred, which I'm sure she's going to tell you about, Lori Pitts. So thank you both, Doug and Lori, and I'm really excited that you all get to work with them.
Awesome. So last session, we asked everyone to find a human rights defender from their community. And it could be either a human rights defender that is from your town, from a couple blocks away from you, or it could be someone else who has inspired you that you've heard of in the news. And we want to ask you about your human rights defender. So if we could go around, we want to know your name, where you're from, your grade, and then the human rights defender that you would like to focus on over the next few weeks. And if you don't have a human rights defender at this point, that's okay. There's still time to find a defender. You're not too far behind, it's totally fine. So instead of telling us the defenders you want to focus on, I would like to know why you wanted to participate in this session and or why you think art is a powerful form of activism. So I'm going to go through the order that I see here just to make sure everyone has a chance to talk. So Kiko?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Keiko. And I chose Yuri Kochiyama as my human rights defender. That's it, yeah.
And what, can you speak a little bit about their human rights issue?
Yeah, so Yuri Kochiyama, she was part of the civil rights movement. She worked alongside Malcolm X.
Right.
And, you know, she like shed light on a bunch of other issues as well.
And Keiko, what grade are you in?
Oh, sorry. I'm in 10th going into 11th grade.
And where are you from?
I'm from Great Falls, Virginia.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Katya?
Hello. Sorry, I think I got a little bit confused by the email, so I just researched like 2 human rights defenders in general, not necessarily in my like in my town or proximity, but like there's Comandante Marcos. He basically like he's still alive today. He fights for human rights in Mexico, specifically for like indigenous Mexicans and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's crazy too because he wears a mask and he doesn't reveal so much about his identity. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm a senior, and yeah, thank you.
And where are you from?
I'm from Mount Vernon High School.
Great. Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I was actually really focusing on an issue, and because I know in my community, creating a culturally responsive curriculum, especially in education, it has been a large issue, especially on Long Island, which is known for its de facto segregation. And so to combat that, I've been trying to focus on education aspects. And so I was I don't really have a human rights defender, but I guess if you were to draw similarities, it would be like Malala Yousafzai and how she fought for human rights in, I think it was Pakistan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, girls' rights to education in Pakistan, but I don't know if that transfers over. But either way, I'm going into my freshman year of college.
Oh, great. And where are you located?
Long Island.
Oh, awesome. And you know, even if you don't have a human rights defender and you have a human rights issue you're passionate about, that's a great place to start.
Sure is.
Okay. Gunnar.
Hi, my name's Gunnar Peacock. I'm from Herndon, Virginia. I'm a rising senior, and I chose Brian Stevenson. He is a world-renowned lawyer. He's won several Supreme Court landmark cases and founded the Equal Rights Initiative, which is working to bring justice into mass incarceration, and he has freed a lot of people who've been wrongly convicted and have also been put on death row. And I read his book, Just Mercy, in sophomore year. Big fan of his, and I think a movie just came out about him, so, yeah.
Awesome. Kennedy.
Hi, I'm Kennedy. I'm a freshman in high school at Mount Vernon High School in Virginia. I actually have not chosen my defender yet, but the reason that I'm here is because art really makes a lot of people stop and listen. For example, like through music, music can like put you in a lot of different moods. It can teach you different things through the lyrics. So I think it's important that you incorporate art into as many things as possible to make it more interesting to more people to get your point across. So, yeah.
Happy Kennedy. Giorgi? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
It's a hard G, it's Giorgi.
Giorgi.
Yeah. So my name is Giorgi. So I'm going into my freshman year of college. I'm from I'm from like the Fairfax area, but right now for the past 2 years, I've actually been in the Middle East. So interesting human rights situations around this area. So I haven't finalized who my defender is, but a guy I was looking at, his name is Hossam Bahgat, and basically he's an Egyptian, and he was taken because he published some stuff. So he was a journalist.
Giorgi,
Published some stuff fond of, and so they. Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. So basically, he was detained because he posted some stuff that the national security agencies in Egypt didn't like. And so he was detained without access to lawyer, family, anyone else for a couple of days. And then he was released, but then they banned him from leaving the country. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Adelaide.
I'm Adelaide Costello. I haven't chosen a person yet, but I think art is really good at expressing a lot more things than just words, are like through color, and it's more interesting. So yeah.
Awesome. It's a universal language.
Yeah.
What grade are you and where are you from?
Oh, I'm in 6th grade going into 7th, and I'm from Anchorage, Alaska.
Wow.
Wow. Wonderful.
Nice to have you. Okay, Savannah.
My name is Savannah. and I'm from Queens, and I don't have a human rights defender yet. But I am here because like art is a way to express yourself even when you don't have the words. So you don't need words, you just use art. So. And I thought it was interesting. So.
Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm also from Queens, New York, and I'm going to be a junior in high school. And I don't have a human rights defender yet, but I do agree that art is such a powerful tool because for me, I consider poetry an art, and poetry can really help you when it comes to different interpretations.
Great, thank you. Jackson.
Hi, I'm Jackson. I'm from Manhattan, New York, but I go to school in Queens, New York. I am a rising junior, and I'm here because I believe that the arts is a great way to express a lot of ideas and a lot of different perspectives to people. And I just love that there's so many forms of doing that, from like theater to visual art or to film and like songs, singing. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheyenne?
Hi, my name is Cheyenne, and I'm in 9th grade. I just finished 9th grade going into 10th. And my human rights defender is Mudawi Adam, and he's a Sudanese human rights activist, and he's known for like exposing like human rights violations and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you. Nandi.
Hi, so we're together. This is my sister Nandi, and I'm Karen.
Awesome.
Yeah, we don't have a human rights defender, but we can say that we're from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm going into 10th grade.
And I'm in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I'm going to 8th grade. Yeah.
Cool. It's so cool that you're doing this together.
Yeah, it sure is.
Awesome. Okay, going through the names. Cecily.
Hi guys, I'm Cecily Hansen. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, and the human rights defender I didn't pick someone in my area, but I picked Emmeline Pankhurst. She was a suffragette in Britain back when women didn't have the right to vote, so I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Cecily. Corey.
Hi, I'm Rory. I'm from Alexandria too. And I'm in 8th grade, and I picked Gloria Steinem, and she's really cool. She wrote a lot of books. She's a journalist, and she's a feminist.
Right on. Thank you. Amaris.
Hello, my name is Amaris, and I don't have a human rights defense activist, but I think art is a big part in social change because when people have a conversation, they can tune out, so they cannot listen. But with art, you have no other point but to look at it, or well, you can look away, but you can still look at it instead of talking, which can actually change your point of view on something.
Very true. Thank you. Bethania? Bethania. We'll come back to her. Lashina? Haley? Let's see. Jimmy?
Hi, my name is Jimmy, and I don't really have a human rights defender, but I think that what could be really important to showing what human rights are, I think that protesting is a key part in it, because with protests, you have a large following of people, so it can spread the word to lots of people in a short amount of time, because lots of protests, they carry a lot of people around, and that would cause a lot of people to understand it. And I'm in 7th grade going to 8th grade.
Great, thank you. And Marley? Marley? Okay, did I miss anyone? Did everyone get a chance to share?
I want to point out that you missed Victoria O. There are 2 Victorias on this call.
I'm so sorry. Victoria O.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm Victoria, and I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm going to be a senior. And I chose 2 activists. So one of them is Amanda Rose, and the other one is Roberto Alejandro Lopez. And they both focus on immigration rights, especially in McAllen, Texas, where children are being detained right now because it's near the border.
Great.
Excuse me, Jenny. I also want to add that Lashina, who's the mom of Haley, just posted in the chat. She said, "Good afternoon, Haley and her mother, Lashina, just joined us about an hour ago. My apologies, we were not prepared."
No worries at all. It's nice to have you with us. Okay, so let's just do a quick outline. Thank you all for sharing. I love that you've put some time into finding some defenders that you're going to spend some time with over the next month and a half. So during this session today and the next 2 sessions after this, we're going to talk about the importance of advocacy through the arts. And you already have such an incredible handle on why the arts are important and why they're an amazing form of advocacy. We're going to learn about effective storytelling. And you will be, as you know, you're going to be writing monologues based on the lives of human rights defenders that you've already kind of started to learn about and have started to research. You're going to have conversations with amazing artists already changing their communities through activism. You've been introduced to them, and you're going to have some more time to get to know them and to talk to them later on in this session. We're going to be creating a safe space where we can really be vulnerable with each other. Thank you for those of you who have your cameras on. It's really nice to see you and connect with you. And the final session will culminate in a performance of Speak Truth to Power, where some of you will get to read your monologues in that performance. So we'll have more details as that unfolds. So why are we doing this work? Why are we all here? We hope that through all of these sessions, you will have a greater sense of human rights issues in the world. You'll understand how to effectively and authentically honor and uplift the voices of human rights defenders. You'll be able to access the creative parts of yourselves that are uniquely you. You will understand that you can create change in your communities and beyond by creating art. And one really thing that's important to know is that intention is not enough. And we really hope that you understand that through this process, because you must do the work to make sure that you are accurately representing those whom you write about, which is why research is important, which is why we're having this session today. And we're hoping that you'll be able to take the practices that you learn here back to your schools or your communities or your group of friends and share what you've learned, and then be able to create with others with this toolbox that we're going to be giving you. So with all of that said, I'm going to turn things over to Doug Robinson, who is with us from Ally Theater. Take it away, Doug.
Oh, take it away. Hello, hello. Again, my name is Doug Robinson. I'll be with you all until the September 10th. That's the total of the 4 classes. I'm really excited. I took some notes down on the names that people were saying because some of them I'd never heard of, and I'm very excited to do my own research while we're doing this so I can keep up with all the things that are going on. A little about me and my relationship with Ally that brought me here. They were tasked to work on a project called Mapping Racism, which was about the Hyattsville, Maryland, the history of racism in that area. And something that they were interested in learning about through theater was a term called restrictive deed covenants. This term was pretty much write-ins into contracts that said who could or could not live where. So let's say that you were a homeowner and you're about to sell your house and you're like, I'm going to sell my house. This is dope. In the contract that you signed when you bought the house, it says, hey, when you sell this house, don't sell it to a Black person or an Asian person or a Jew. We want to make sure this neighborhood stays like this. In researching that, I found that any information I had about that show, that would go into that show, centered around white voices and the white people who created the law. And I was not interested in telling those stories. I was interested in learning about the people who were affected by these laws, the communities that were built to combat these laws. So that's where Welcome to Sis came from, which was about the town of North Brentwood, one of the first Black incorporated towns in Hyattsville. And I found the woman, Sis Walls. She was a businesswoman who owned a tavern, but it wasn't just like a let's go have a drinks tavern. There were artists and musicians, people from all over the country. When they came to perform in DC, as many of them did, like Pearl Bailey, Duke Ellington, when they would come and perform in DC, there was no place for them to go and get a drink after their performance. Like, yeah, come perform here, but like we're not going to actually serve you. So they would hop across the river to go to Sis's Tavern. So many famous artisans and musicians that we like whose shoulders we stand on today as artists went through there. And it was in researching, talking with community members, finding primary sources that I was able to cobble together a snapshot of what life was like there. To this day, I'm not 100% certain if I fully articulated the truth and integrity of these people, but I'm glad that the feedback that I got from the community was they were proud of the piece. And I think that's something we should always be mindful of in the work that we're doing is who is it for? And as long as we keep that the who is it for in the foreground of our mind, we will be able to honor them and honor the people that they're hoping to see represented. I know that was a very long, fast thing, but there's so much I want to get done with you all today that I just want to get that out of the way. I love history. I think we stand on shoulders. We are not here because of our own merit. We are here because of our ancestors, the people who fought for us to be in this room together. And we should just take a moment, just like a brief moment, and just, if there's someone in your life who you know you want to thank, just take a moment and just image that person in your mind, bring them into the space with us, because they're going to be here as we write today. Thank you. So one of the things that I am very much interested in when it comes to writing and in terms of the why of it is all of these human rights defenders saw something in their community or in the world that they needed, that they wanted to change. So I have a writing prompt for us today, and it's to take 10 minutes max of just like silent writing to get our hands like in that space. And the prompt is there any change you want to see in your neighborhood? Is there any change you want to see in your neighborhood? We do not need to write some grand manifesto. This is not going to be something that you're like, this is the greatest thing. We have 10 minutes. If people would like to share, I would love to hear 3 or 4 people share what they write, but no one for this writing exercise is under any obligation to share. This can be a very personal thing that you want to do, but I want us to get into the practice of writing together with one another. I will also be participating in this. I'm going to set a timer. I want to make sure we're all right. Is that cool, Jenny, if I set a timer for 10 minutes? Cool. So I'm going to set the timer. All right. And again, the prompt is change you want to see in your neighborhood. I want to make this hyper local, very like close to where you are. And whenever you're ready, begin.
And if you forget, just click the chat box. You see the prompt there.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate that.
What the hell is a draw from the Earth? I think we draw Mother Earth.
Friends, we have 2 more minutes. We have 2 more minutes.
I think 8 was the limit. I just joined. What's going on? I just joined. Was there a survey? Who is Livia? So what we're doing, Livia, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, we're answering that prompt. Is there any change you want to see in your neighborhood? And explain why.
Can you repeat that, Gary?
So we're answering a prompt. Is there any change you want to see in your neighborhood? And explain why. So we'll share out in the next 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes.
And time, everybody. I know some of you might still be in the throes of writing and you're like, I want to keep going. Some might be like, man, I was done writing like 7 minutes ago. I don't know why we had to do that for the whole time. But I wanted to say thank you for just sitting with this question in your head. Whether you did write the entire time or not, sitting in this space with these thoughts are or what we're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks. And after this class is done, I hope you will continue to do that, because to write is to think, and to write is to question, and to write is to wonder. And those are all the things that we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on that muscle every time we are in these sessions. Would anyone, I'm hoping to maybe get 3 to 4 people, but as I said, no one has to. Would anyone like to share either an excerpt of what they wrote or the entire thing? It's really hard for me to see everybody's faces and raising hands, so hopefully we'll get this right, but I do not know. Zoom is still terrible in my eyes. Kennedy, yes.
Hi, okay, so I said that I wish that my neighborhood was more diverse. I'm one of 2 Black families in my entire neighborhood because I live really close to Mount Vernon, like George Washington's house. So I said that, like, basically because there's a race pay gap and Black people are less likely to get high paying jobs based off of their race, the system was basically set up for us to fail. So if we could take race off of job applications and eliminate the race pay gaps, that people of color would be more likely to be, less likely to be denied jobs based off of the race.
Thank you very much for sharing. I really appreciate that. This is not a place of judgment. This is a place of honest communication. We're all going to have different ideas and different perceptions of the world, and all of them are welcomed here. This is not a time for debate either. This is a time for just expression, especially in this bit. Would anyone else like to speak, to read? Oh, yes, it's not Giorgi. I remember I wrote it down, but I did not write it phonetic.
Giorgi.
Giorgi, the hard G, the Giorgi,
Yeah.
yes.
So I'm, as I said, I've been in the Middle East for 2 years. And so basically, so a little bit about me is because there's a policy where, so the first 2 years of high school, I was in a public school in the US in Northern Virginia. And then for these last 2 years, I've been in a private school overseas in the Middle East. And it's very different. And so something that I've noticed about the structure here is that it's just the level of classism is, so like in my school, right, there was kind of like a sense of superiority because these people were born into wealth. And like, so because I came from like a public school, then like I was looked down upon, and like for me, like it's fine. But then there's whole other levels inside the where I live, where it's just everything is rooted upon like what you're born as, right? So like the wealthy families are always on the top, and they have all the power, right? And then you have the citizens who are born into citizenry, because unless the leadership decides to grant you exclusive permission to become a citizen, you have to be born into it. And so basically the citizens kind of are complacent because they benefit from all the policies. The government subsidizes a bunch of programs. And then you have the labor, which is basically are basically South Asian workers who come over, and they basically have no rights. And so like if you come here like and you work for someone, then if you ever want to work for someone else, or if you want to leave the country, you need to get the permission of your previous employer in order to then change employment status. And there's no way to really work your way up, because you can't become a citizen. And then also, so basically you're here just to send money home. And then because of the conditions, like because of the COVID-19 outbreak, basically the conditions that they live in is like 6, 7, 8 people in like a small room. And so it just like blew up. And so I guess like the one thing that I'd want to see more is, I guess, more of a sense of equal opportunity, more intermingling, like in terms of like actually understanding each other and experiencing stuff that the other classes in the society go through. Because I see a lot of just kind of, like from the people at least on the top, that they're better than everyone else just because they're born into it when they didn't really do much work. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Giorgi. Can we get one more person? Is there anyone else who would like to share? Once again, no obligation.
I share.
Where? Who said
it's
that?
Amaris.
Hi, Amaris. Yes, please share.
So I would like to see less racism at my school. Since my school is a predominantly white school, there tends to be a lot of racism, and there's also a lot of classism as well, because it's a private school as well. So there tend to be a lot of like not just comments, but like actual opportunities that get taken away from students of color or students of a lesser social class. And I think there needs to be like more of a safe place for students of color in that school.
Thank you so much, Amaris. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I love about the way we were talking when we talk about our neighborhoods is we're going to be researching people who defend human rights. We're going to be researching people who saw something and wanted to do something. And right now, we've heard 3 examples of something we're seeing right now in our own communities. We can be defenders today. We don't have to wait to go to college or to graduate high school. The way we exist in the world now, the art we make in the world now, can reflect the change we want to see. All of us are already defenders, and I'm just really grateful and thankful that you're all here and sharing this space with us. To ensure we get enough time with the brilliant Laurie Pitts, I would like to turn this over to her to talk a little bit about research and how she comes about creating work in her world. So Laurie, take it away.
Hey, thank you. I would first just love to reiterate what Doug was just saying. It's like, it is so cool that we're thinking about these things now. It took me until sophomore year of college to even realize I could combine the arts and social justice. So I just loved hearing what you all were already saying about how powerful the arts were, and it's just very inspiring. So thank you. So yes, my name is Lori, and I'm a theater artist in the DC area. I primarily identify as actor, director, teaching artist, facilitator, and I'm also the founding director of Voices Unbarred. So Voices Unbarred's mission is to amplify the voices of people impacted by incarceration, and we do that through theatrical tools. So basically, we will go into a prison system, we'll help them create a performance of some sort around an issue that they find important. They get to perform it, and then we'll also have returned citizens perform their work out in the community to hopefully raise awareness and create some policy changes and social changes. So the type of theater that I primarily do is called Theater of the Oppressed, which it sounds like maybe some of you might be familiar with. If you're not familiar, it's called TO for short, and brief history of it is that this guy, Augusto Boal, he was kind of like, theater can be, it doesn't have to be passive. You don't have to be sitting there letting somebody tell you what to think or do, but it can be active, and every single person, no matter their class or race or gender, any of those isms that we tend to use, no matter what you are, you can have these tools of theater to create change in your world. So he used all sorts of like games, activities to kind of gather communities together, talk through the issues, and then also brainstorm potential solutions. So a couple different forms of TO are forum theater. And forum theater, for example, would be if you put a real story that happened to somebody up on its feet. So somebody might be like, hey, this happened to me. And we'll be like, yeah, let's stage that. Then the audience members can jump in and try to stop the oppression that's happening in that story by trying out like, maybe I could say this instead right here. Then you'll see what happens. And then you all talk about it. You're like, is that realistic? What would the consequences of that be? Would that work every day of the week, or did it just happen to work right here? And basically he was trying to create a safe space for the rehearsal for the revolution is what he always said. So a safe space where you can try things out and then talk about it so that you can be ready for if and when that happens again in your real life. The other thing that other activity that he liked to use was something called image theater. And I was really thinking about image theater as you guys were talking, because a lot of you said, you know, art can speak for itself. Sometimes it's like more interesting than words. You can see the colors, and you can hear the rhymes and the poetry. And so that really inspired me to talk about image theater more, because Boal, he also was like, you know, sometimes we don't all speak the same language, or we all have different definitions of certain words. So, you know, some people might say family and everyone's like, oh, and some people might say family and be like, oh, that's terrible, no. But if you have an image that's like, everyone can kind of be like, oh, I know when I feel that, and speak the same language again. So I was wondering if we had time, could we do a little image activity right now just to try it out? Just because, again, you guys inspired me with all of your talk of arts being more powerful than words. Okay, so we're gonna do some image work. If you feel comfortable to have your camera on, please do. If you really don't, please still do the image. But I would love for you to share it with everyone else, because that's part of it. We'll all have different images and we can kind of see how people are thinking about these words. So we're gonna start really easy, simple. We're just gonna do an image of joy. So there's no right or wrong, but just what do you think of with joy? And I'm gonna count you down from 5. You're gonna strike a frozen image like you're in a picture of joy. If you wanna stand, feel free. I feel more creative when I stand up, but you can also use just your upper body. All right, think about it for a second. And I'm gonna count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Image of joy. Awesome. Stay frozen for 1 second. If you need to click over to the other page, I want you to check out people's images of joy. Yes, I see a lot of hands up, a lot of smiles. A lot of heart space kind of stuff. All right, and relax. Cool. So are there any questions about creating an image with your body before we move on to a little harder word? Okay, cool. All right, so you can obviously create an image of joy, something we're all very familiar with. Then you can also start creating images of bigger ideas or themes. So for this group, I thought it would be really interesting to try and create an image with our bodies of the word defender. So whatever that means to you, what is a defender? And can you come up with an image that captures at least a piece of it? I'm going to count you down from 5 again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your image of defender. All right, hold it again. If you want to unmute yourself, call out just some words that you see. What are you seeing in these images?
Protect.
Protect for sure.
Help.
Shelter.
Help.
Help.
Nobility.
Mobility. I see a lot of fish. Protect.
Oh, you said that. Protect.
Yes. Cool, and relax. Awesome. Let's try one more. We're gonna get a little bigger thematic. I would like us to create an image of human rights. Think about what frozen image might represent human rights. I'm gonna count you down from, giving you some time to think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're interesting. So again, if you want to unmute yourself to call out anything that you see.
You are valuable.
Express yourself.
Speak up.
Love.
Connect.
Opportunity.
All right, and relax. Thank you. I love how the words started to get more and more like phrases and ideas and love, protect. That's so awesome. Thank you for giving that a go and trying it out with me. How we might use that activity, like in the prison, we would do that. We'd make sure we're kind of on the same page, like we're using all those words. And so if somebody said connect, we'd be like, all right, well, let's tell some stories about times we felt connected. And then that way you can start to talk about a topic. You could also take any of those images. If somebody's like this, be like, all right, what might that character be thinking or saying? And from there you can start to write a monologue. So you might want to put a little flag in this activity because later it might help you maybe create an image of your defender and start writing from that part, or just something they stand for. So yeah, that's another form of theater of the oppressed that we use to help create. Any questions about that activity before I move on? All right, cool. So as you all know, and we've been talking about, you are writing some monologues of some human rights defenders. So I wanted to go into a little bit about what we find successful when we work with our participants in creating performance pieces with them. So the number one thing I wanted to talk about was how we prioritize our participants using their own words. So when you're trying to talk as a person, it's so important to really capture their voice and what they might say. I know some of you might be talking as a defender who's not alive anymore, or maybe doesn't live anywhere near you, but it's still important to do research. What are quotes that they've said? How might they have said something if you can't find a direct quote? But for us, when we go into the prisons, we want to hear exactly their words, and we write it down exactly how they said it. We might change the spelling just so people can understand what it said, but we won't change grammar. We'll write it exactly how they might speak it so that we can really capture their voice. And how we, well, so yeah, and then we'll put those words into the script, and that's how we get our final script. So it's never like us talking about a thing and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go write a script myself. Literally, I'm like, I heard that guy say, I wanna be out of here. I'm gonna go write that into the script. I wanna be out of here, word for word. So how we do that, because we can't have recording devices in the prison, we actually have people take notes. So we set it up like a discussion, so it's not like a one-on-one interview, but we'll be talking, and just whatever comes out of those discussions, we want to be listening. So one of us is always like focused, asking the questions, listening, but then we'll also have somebody on the side taking notes, like, ooh, that was a really good quote, that was a good phrase, that's a good idea that I want to hear more about. And we find that really, really helpful in capturing the essence of a person, you know, and like specific things they say. And also by setting it up like a discussion, you get like, I don't know how to say it. People always feel like they don't know how to say something, or they're like, I don't have the best words for this, but it's kind of like this thing. We've all felt that, you know, where you're like, oh, I don't want to speak because I'm not sure I know how to say it. But when you have a discussion-based group like that, you find that people often sound way cooler than they think they do. Like they speak from their heart, they're speaking their truth, and somebody else is listening for like, that is an awesome phrase. And Gary already did that in our chat a couple times, like when Doug had that quote, to write is to think, to write is to question, to write is to wonder. I was like, ooh, that's a cool quote. I don't know if Doug knew that he was going to sound cool. Maybe he did. But, you know, somebody on the outside could like capture it, you know, and be like, that is a good quote. So creating that environment that's really like, hey, we're just having a discussion, it's kind of important. And then it's our job as the artist to listen for those powerful creative words and show the person, hey, what you're already saying is really amazing. Like, let's write it down. Yeah, so I'm going to post into the chat a few key steps to creating successfully. Now, not all of them are correct in my opinion, but I would love for us to talk through which ones we think are actually useful for success. So I'm going to post them in the chat and I'll also read them out loud for you guys. And then, yeah, when you think you see one that is important for creating successfully, just unmute yourself and call it out. So approach people with firsthand knowledge. Make sure you get every detail no matter what. Get permission. Be transparent about how their words will be used. Be aware of comfort levels. Add what you think if they have a different opinion from you. Start with the more difficult questions to get them out of the way. Listen. Use only one research source so you have consistency, and honor their words. So do any of those sound like a key to creating successfully or interviewing successfully?
One for me is add what you think if they have a different opinion from you, because I know, especially for me, I'm a really like straightforward person, and I'll tell you if I think you're wrong about something. But you know, sometimes I'm the one who's wrong about something, and their opinion might be more correct from another person's point of view than my opinion would be. So I think it's important that you get all aspects of somebody's thoughts to, I don't know how to explain it, but to not get your point across, but make sure that you're being authentic.
Interesting. Yeah. So you definitely want to hear kind of all sides of things and not just believe that your thing is going to be right. But then I also hear that's like, yeah, you want to be authentic. So maybe bring it up so that they can kind of have a discussion with you about it. Very interesting.
Lori, I'm kind of jumping in, so probably not fair. Sorry, everybody. But I love that idea of start with the more difficult question. But I wonder, like, Is there a way to move into that? I would love to hear how you do that, because my natural instinct would be start with something easy to kind of break the ground, break the tension, or to get started. But I think that's really fascinating. Can you talk about that a bit more?
Well, I'm glad you said that. So all of these I actually don't follow. Some of these I think are more difficult. And so that's what I want to have this discussion about. So for me, I think that one is harder. You really want to build a relationship with people instead of just diving in and being like, so what's the hardest part of your life? Tell me right now. You know, they're going to be like, I don't know you. So you actually, that one I put in there to kind of highlight. Actually, that's not a great key to success. You want to start actually like, hey, let's get to know each other. Here's some of the easier questions. Okay, now we feel a little more comfortable. Maybe we can ask a little bit of a harder question. And I also modeled that with the images. I had you make an image of joy first, right? Most people can make an image of happy. We all know smiling is related to happy. But if I had asked you right off the bat, I was like, all right, everyone make an image of human rights, go. You might have been like, what? What does that mean? So yeah, you're always scaling it up.
Yeah. I thought you had some magic trick or something. There was something that I had been missing all these years. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
There is an idea that I think is fascinating in sharing, in the exchange of things. If we're going on ask the difficult question first, I think if one is willing to be open first, like let's say you're in conversation with someone and you know that I want to go to this place. If you had a story that you were willing to share, it could make another participant in the conversation feel comfortable. That's still not like starting right off the bat, but showing vulnerability first, I think is how you can try to have a difficult question early on. It's saying, hey, I'm human too. But that's also still a really awkward thing. Like, you just show up and say, here's my childhood trauma.
Right.
What do you mean?
But I think that brings up a good point that every interview or discussion is going to be different. So part of being the artist is like really listening and kind of getting the vibe of the room. Like, okay, they're already really sharing, so I am going to dive into these questions. Or, you know what, we're not there yet. I'm going to slow it down. Right. Any other ones of these that you want to call out as really helpful to successfully interviewing or creating together?
The getting permission one, I think, is a beautiful door for lots of systematic problems in the way history is taught and how permission is not always gotten to tell people's stories that we've been fed. I was listening to a story on NPR about like the father of gynecology, Dr. Sims, and like I didn't know anything about this guy, but it turns out like he used slaves and performed like experiments on them, yet we do not know many of their names at all. But it's because of what they have done, what they did, we now have this knowledge. And it's like, how do you get permission to share their story? How do you get permission to open that up and really give credit? Something I think when I read give permission, I thought also give credit to where it's due. You know, I can't just ask, can I do this? I have to, the moment I ask, can I do this? Can I say this? It is me acknowledging it's not from me. And I think that's something we as interviewers need to think about. Like, it's not for me, it's you. And I need to take care of you because you've given me a gift.
Yes, I love that language too of like, you've given me a gift. That's partially why when I said we honor their words and we don't change them, I feel like when they have shared their story with us or a quote, they have given us a gift of themselves and they were open to being vulnerable. And so the best I can do is honoring that gift and like keeping it whole and like really wanting to share it how it was given to me instead of making it my own.
Just to emphasize that it's not about you. It's not about the person interviewing. It's about the person you're receiving the information from. And another thing I was going to bring up, maybe even the next session, but when you're gathering information and kind of deciding what to include in the monologue, not to include anything purely to dramatize or to make it more exciting. The point of it is to really honor the life, the work, the words of those that you are interviewing as the sacred thing that you are receiving from them, and to really hold space for them. And I'm looking at the list here, Lori, and the word listen really pops out to me, because I found that when you are speaking with others, sometimes like you can listen with your whole self the listening begins when you stop talking. And it's kind of amazing what can come out of that just in silence, and the connection that can be formed in silence, which kind of feels counterintuitive, but it's kind of incredible what can come forth when you are able to hold that, even if that is silence sometimes.
Right.
100%.
It's very important to listen. Listening is so important. This is dialogue, creating dialogue. Person here speaking and a person over here speaking, sharing ideas. But what happens quite often is not a dialogue. People begin thinking about what they're going to say next instead of listening to the person they're speaking to. And so sometimes we don't have dialogue. We end up with simultaneous monologue where people are talking together instead of sharing ideas. So listening is key. Listening is fundamental when you're interviewing. Keep that in mind.
Yes. And that's also the only way you're going to get those direct quotes while somebody's talking.
Right.
Just you listen for those specific words. Somebody in the chat, Fana, said listening and approaching people with firsthand knowledge. Yes, yes, yes. That's why we write our scripts with people who have experienced incarceration, because they are the ones who have experienced it, so they know what needs to change or what they want to change or the worst parts of it. And so by approaching them, instead of trying to write the script myself, since I have not been incarcerated, then we get more truth, right? And that's who should lead the movement for the change, and that's who should speak, are the people who have experienced it. So it's very important to seek out those people to at least to lead the change, but also like if you are also inspired by that change and you want to speak about it, to include those people in your creation. So it's not just somebody who has no idea writing about it.
So true. Would you, Lori and Doug, would you suggest our defenders use a tape recorder or record the interview? I spent some time as a journalist, and I learned that you don't have to sneak and use the recorder. Let them know, I'm going to record. Is it okay? So do you think that might be a good idea during the interview?
Yeah, I do. I would love to, again, with permission, I would love to use recorders in the prison. We're just not allowed to. But yeah, that's the best way, because you can listen back and really get all the good tidbits that they said. Yeah, I want to make sure. Doug, how much time do you need for the last part?
So the last part is it's one of those things where I can take an hour to talk about it, or I have condensed it into like a 10-minute, like, here's like some tips for writing kind of thing. So I want to make sure this is the only day we have you, that we like anything you want to give, I want to make sure these young people get.
Okay, well, yeah, let me wrap this up then, and I'll pass it back to you. So I just want to make sure we talked about each one of these that I posted in the chat. So approaching people with firsthand knowledge, the making sure you get every detail no matter what. I kind of put that in there because I was thinking, like, sometimes you want more, but you really need to be aware of where they are. So if they're like, I'm tired or I'm not feeling comfortable with this, you don't want to keep pressing for those details. You want to be open to what they're comfortable sharing. And that some of that is like planning ahead of time, like what might this person feel uncomfortable with? So like in the prison, I might be like, some people might not want to share why they're there. So it's me being aware of those things, but then also in the moment kind of feeling it out and asking them like, hey, if you're not comfortable with this question, you don't have to answer it. but is it okay if I ask? So I included that one there. Get permission, very important. Be transparent about how you're going to be using the words. That kind of goes with permission, so that they know exactly where their words will be. Be aware of comfort levels, kind of already touched on that. The add what you think, we talked about that. Start with the more difficult questions, talked about that. Listen. What about the use only one research source so you have consistency? What do you guys think about that?
I don't agree. I don't know.
Why not?
Because when I research things, I always have to get like broad opinions, because if you only do it from one-sided, then you're taking a one-sided take of an issue. And sometimes that side is not always right. So
Yes, I love it. Victoria's got it. You don't need to just use one research source. Definitely, you don't want to just get one side. You want to kind of see what is true out there. So like read lots of different sources, get lots of different quotes, kind of put them together. And that's what we do in the prison. Everyone has a different opinion about prison. So we talk to a lot of people. We don't just talk to one person and say, see, this is how everyone in prison thinks. We kind of gather all the opinions together that we can.
Adding on to what Victoria said, when you only research from one perspective, whatever you're creating is going to be a little flat. Like you want it to be like three-dimensional. You want it to have different layers and different opinions, and you get more of that by researching from more sources.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, 100%. I have nothing to add to that. Yeah, and so then just the final thing that I'll leave you with is just really honoring their words. I think that's the most important thing to remember. Yes, honor their words. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for having me here.
Bravo.
Thank you so much, Laurie.
Yes, of course. I'll stick around to the end so that I'll pass it off back to Doug, and then if you have any questions, I'll stay on.
Yeah, so it is, because I am, being the theater person I am, I believe in starting and ending on time. I'm like, let's respect people's time and energy. So we have about 9 minutes left, and I will probably leave like the last minute for like a closing moment of just like coming together. But once again, thank you so much, Laurie. The things I have for you now is just a writing tidbit. You can take it or leave it, but it is something that has been very useful to me as a writer, especially when I sometimes feel a little stuck in what I'm writing, if it's purely from myself or if it's a well-researched topic. Has anyone done any improv before? Like I'm talking like you took your drama games, your freeze, your park bench. Fantastic. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the phrase A to C. Laura, okay, I see you, Laura. Anyone else, A to C? Okay, I don't see hands, okay. So A to C is a concept that I learned in improv, which is you ask the audience for a suggestion. The suggestion they give you is Walmart, and they think, oh, now they're gonna do a scene about Walmart. But maybe Walmart isn't the inspiring thing, but Walmart makes me think of bikes, because that's where I got my bike when I was in like 2nd grade. And bikes makes me think of that time I was on the hill and I flipped off my handlebars and hit a tree. So now the scene is going to be about a tree. So I had the topic, but I needed to get some creativity flowing. So I used that topic as a jumping off point to think about X, Y, or Z. And some might say, well, now we're not talking about the topic. But I've always found that as soon as you start writing, wherever you started writing from, you will find your way back to where you needed to be. In improv, and the improvs I've done when we use A to C, the logic isn't to trick the audience into saying Walmart and then not give them the Walmart scene they wanted. It is how can we connect a greater story, a more inclusive and encompassing story. So I challenge you all, if you're ever stuck writing and you're thinking about this person or this event, I want you to take a moment and say, okay, I've been staring directly at this event. I've been staring directly at this human rights atrocity or this triumph, and I'm a little stuck. This kind of makes me think of, if I take a step back, this thing, and then this thing, and then write about that and see how you can find a way to connect that back to where you are. Sometimes if we're staring at a tree long enough, we forget the forest, and we need the forest if we're going to get these people's full lives. So I learned that as A to C. Other people could just call that writing to write. But yeah, what you're thinking about, what it makes you think about, and then what that thing makes you think about. The next thing I want to quickly say, we're going to probably talk more about monologues and structure of monologues next time. But monologues are kind of everything and also nothing at the same time. I still haven't gotten everybody's names, but someone was talking about music earlier and how music is useful. You take out the instrumentals, that's a monologue. Or that's poetry. All of it is still a speech, something that a single person, if it's a band, we can talk about it not being a monologue, but a single person is saying. These monologues do not need to be from I woke up this morning and did this thing and this thing. It doesn't need to be a list of what this person has done in their life. It could be a moment in their life, a dramatization, but still an accurate, not adding fluff, but a dramatization of a moment in their life using their words, and it can be a bit more introspective. Who are you talking to? What is the objective of this monologue? Is it a soliloquy? Then you're not talking to anybody but yourself, really. But if it's a monologue, you could either be talking to somebody or even the audience. So understanding the objective and who you are talking to and what you're thinking of is going to help you structure this monologue. We're going to go into more detail with that later. I will probably bring examples of monologues. I'm sure that you are all well-read individuals, and I don't want to spoon-feed you things, but I'll bring some examples of different styles of monologues, some that are more structured in classical Western theater, which we can talk about later, or they're going to be a bit more poetic and heightened and imagistic, and you're like, this makes no sense, but it makes me feel something. Language is not something that is rigid. Language evolves and morphs, and we can be as creative as we want. If we want to throw words against a wall, if we want to handwrite it perfectly, whatever it is, whatever organization you choose to do, as long as it's being spoken by someone, you've written the monologue. Do not feel bogged down in how this has to be. As you've noticed, I'm very long-winded and talk a lot, so I apologize for that, because that is very much who I am as a person. Does anyone have any questions about the two concepts? Well, not really concepts, but the two things I've just thrown at you last minute to make sure I got it in? Now I'm gonna move over to see. Okay, cool. This has been a really lovely first experience for me. Due to the pandemic, the school that I teach at, I teach creative drama in the mornings for a bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds and acting classes at Imagination Stage. And I haven't been able to do that since March 13th. And I'm now about to go to school, so I'm not going to be teaching in that way anymore. So I feel very filled in this moment. So thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time, because your time is precious. People might say it's not because you're young, but no, your time and your thoughts and your energy is precious, and I greatly appreciate the choice you've made to be here. To close out, I would like us to take a moment of peace and just sit, and if there was a word or an image or a thought that you really liked today, just ruminate on that for a moment of silence. And we're going to say our goodbyes. So take that moment, look inward, take a breath. Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much, Gary. I could name every single person, but that will take a while. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, students, for being here. Again, my name is Doug Robinson. I'll put my email in the chat, or am I not allowed? I don't know how things. If anyone has any questions, you feel free to either email Jenny to forward me or whatever. I'm available to you for the duration of this project. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was great, Doug and Lori, and Gary.
My heart is so full with the wisdom and the love and the.
Yes.
Yes. Just a couple of things before we depart. Make sure that we end at 5:30. We will send around a survey next week to check in on you, to see how you're doing, to see if you found your defenders, to see how your research is coming, and to see how we can support you through the researching process. If you come into any issues, we can help you work through them. And we'll also send a worksheet that kind of gathered the conversation today to kind of help you, to help guide your research process. So we'll send that out in the beginning of next week so you can kind of start. And then we'll check in at the end of the week to see how you're doing. And then we'll kind of troubleshoot if we have to make sure you have that last week to really dig into your research. And remember, look for pieces that to make sure that the voice, the authentic voice of your defender is captured. So interviews are helpful. Speeches are really helpful in that as well. And reach out to us if you need anything. You can email me, and Doug, I'll forward any emails to you that if anyone wants to speak directly to you. And I'm just, thank you so much. Thank you, Jeremiah, and
thank you.
And Shem, and Doug, and Lori. And Amalia is on here too. She's one of our lead educators. She is a big part of our theater, our arts programming. I'm overwhelmed with joy for how many students showed up today and with everything that was shared today.
That's great.
Any closing thoughts from anyone else or the STTP team before we close? No? Thank you. Thank
you.
We'll hear from us, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now.
Take care, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye,
everyone. Peace and love.
See you later.
Do you want us to stay on at all? We good? We good?